Alexander, great to see you again and having you here. You worked in Moscow as deputy head of mission for the Canadian Embassy, is that right? You are fluent in Russian?
Yes.
Have you, these documents that you've dropped on the table today are quite disturbing. Have you been able to get that authenticized as being true to fact?
Yes. Not just myself. I've been aware of the documents and able to read them for many months. I'm not sure exactly how many months it's been. They have been shared with, as I mentioned, national security authorities in Canada and I believe other jurisdictions. And many hands, not just mine, have gone to the people they know in the world of expertise around KGB documents to authenticate them. Every authority that has come back, and these include some of the best authorities in the United States, several in Europe, including Estonia, Ukraine, and the UK, I believe, as well as a specialist in paper quality and manufacture, because the documents were made at a certain time using paper that came from a certain place. All have authenticated these documents, have confirmed that they are what they claim to be.
Okay, and this individual, Stewart, as code name, is currently working still as a journalist?
Correct. You will see in the documents that he is named there very, very clearly in cursive handwriting as David Pugliese, who has been working as a journalist in Canada for, ever since. So
that reporter is very familiar to me as because he reports also on national defense. Is that why KGB would have been interested in making use of him to collect information to share with the Kremlin, in addition to using his cover as a journalist to do so? Would he have been duping CAF members and the Department of National Defense and others?
Absolutely. His subsequent career, I'm not sure how many years of it, I haven't analyzed it completely, did focus for quite a long time on national defense, national security issues. Those issues would, for obvious reasons, have been of great interest to Russia's intelligence services, particularly in this recent period when they've been engaged in overt aggression against Ukraine and other countries. At the time when he is recruited, which is what these files tell us the story of, it's not clear what he's going to do as a journalist. He's starting out. He is, I think, the Ottawa Citizen is mentioned as a first employer. I'm not sure what he was working on at that time, but later one of his main areas of focus was national security, national defense, as you say.
Okay, I think that we'll need some time to digest the information that's in here. I'm just wondering, that this has been handled. You said it's been handed over some time ago to Canadian intelligence agencies. Which intelligence agencies would have received this intel?
From what I know, I was not the person doing the handing. It was given to counterintelligence authorities and law enforcement authorities within the Department of National Defense, as well as CSIS.
Okay. Do you believe that those briefings would have been carried up the chain and investigated and shared with the Prime Minister and Minister of National Defense and Minister of Public Safety?
I can't speak for the highest levels, but I know that, from my experience of working with these agencies over many decades, that they are absolutely assiduous in briefing their superiors, and this would have been considered a very serious matter, which would have required internal attention. It's also an issue that was probably looked into even before these documents arrived, so it may have been an opportunity to connect some dots.
Okay, I'm going to change topics a bit. We know that the Government of Canada, through the Canadian Media Fund, recently financed through TVO a Russian propaganda film called Russians at War to sow the appearance of empathy for those Russians who have invaded Ukraine. Was definitely filmed illegally on Ukrainian territory. How disappointing, I'll direct this to all three witnesses. How has Russia been successful in making use, again, a former RT reporter who was able to produce and direct this film using taxpayer money here in Canada? So, Chris, if you want to kick off, and then we can go with Mr. Ling and then the other witness.
Sure. Thanks for the question. I think the dynamic at work in that case was a Russian reaction to our reaction through sanctions. Russia today was sanctioned by Canada and other G7 countries, by Ukraine earlier, shortly after the full-scale invasion in 2022. It had been a very effective channel for propaganda. It was on our cable packages. It was available to many Canadians. We would run into people that watched it and see the reporters around Canada, as I mentioned. That was no longer available, so they tried to find other ways to get Russia Today's propaganda in front of Canadian audiences. Film festivals were one way to do that. This is a film that was clearly made with that objective in mind and should be considered a war propaganda film in my view.
Because I'm running out of time here, just one final question. Today it was announced that the Government of Canada has removed Denis Kameshev, who is the director of Gazprom Bank, from the sanctions list. He was sanctioned in 2022. They have now taken him off that list. Minister Jolie made that decision yesterday, I believe. How dangerous is it for us to take people off the list that are actually helping fund Putin's war machine and their invasion in Ukraine?
In my view, it sends absolutely the wrong signal. Gazprom, whether someone is a former executive or a present one, was central to that war machine, central to Russia's intelligence operations, their disinformation operations. There are many more people who could, in my view, and should be sanctioned, some resident in Canada, some resident elsewhere, to strengthen our hand in helping Ukraine win.
Thank you.